Hey friends, welcome back to the Grace-Filled Leader podcast. Today's episode is gonna be a little tough, but it is an important one. We are diving into a leadership challenge that I know so many of us face at one point or another. Knowing when it's time to manage someone off of your team. There's a term we sometimes use in leadership circles called addition by subtraction. It's the idea that even though it may feel counterintuitive, removing someone from your team can actually lead to growth, health, and better overall performance. And the hard truth is, when someone becomes a toxic influence in the workplace, it can be your responsibility as a leader to make that difficult decision. I get it. This is never easy. But what I've come to realize over the years is that not addressing toxic behavior within a team can have lasting, damaging effects on the culture, on productivity, and on the emotional well-being of everyone else. And as leaders, we have a responsibility not just to the one person who is struggling, but to the entire team. So today we're going to talk about how to identify when someone's behavior has become toxic, the impact of keeping them on your team, and how managing them off, though difficult, can be an act of stewardship for the rest of your people. Welcome to the Grace-Filled Leader podcast. Do you want better work-life balance? Do you get stuck in patterns of perfectionism and people-pleasing? Have you always been an overachiever but never really felt good enough, no matter how much outwork success you achieve? Do you want more time for the things that matter most? Well, you are in the right place. Here on the Grace-Filled Leader podcast, we focus on spirit-driven success and share the secrets to having better work-life balance as a busy woman in leadership. Here you will learn how to set boundaries like a boss, find peace of mind, and reclaim your time for the things that matter most. Hi, I'm Tanya, a wife, mom, leader, and certified Christian life coach. For most of my life, I tried to find worthiness through achievement. I spent decades people-pleasing and pouring myself into my work. I was looking for my value through the approval of others. This led me to feel burned out, empty, and exhausted. I had no time or energy for myself or my family. I realized that I was wasting time and energy looking for validation in all the wrong places. But my life changed when I finally surrendered and God showed me a different way. It is my mission to help you start living the abundant life God has for you. If you're ready to become fueled by grace and find freedom from people-pleasing, if you're ready to multiply your time and impact as a Christian woman in leadership, this podcast is for you. Roll up your sleeves, sister friends. It's time to get after it. Let's start by talking about how to recognize when a team member has crossed the line into becoming a toxic influence. We're not talking about the occasional bad day or the employee who's going through a personal hardship. Life happens, and grace is a vital part of leadership. What we're talking about here is when a person's behavior has consistently become destructive to team morale, productivity, and the overall health of your work environment. Here are a few signs of toxic behavior that warrant some concern as a leader. The first is constant negativity. Every workplace has challenges, but if someone is constantly bringing negativity, refusing solutions, or undermining efforts, it can infect the entire team's mindset. Second sign is undermining others. A toxic employee may gossip, spread rumors, or directly undermine their colleagues or their leader. This erodes trust and it makes it difficult for people to work together effectively. A third sign is disrespecting leadership or team members. When someone repeatedly shows disrespect for authority, for coworkers, or for the mission of the organization, it becomes a serious issue. This could include talking back or refusing to follow guidelines or processes, or showing up with a bad attitude every day. And finally, Another sign of toxicity is a lack of accountability. If a person consistently refuses to take responsibility for their actions or shifts blame to others, it creates dysfunction in the team. When these behaviors are allowed to continue, even if it's just one person, it can erode the culture you've worked so hard to build. I know how tempting it can be to avoid the difficult conversations, especially when dealing with a person who has been with the team for a long time or is otherwise very talented in their role. But here's the thing. Allowing toxic behavior to continue unchecked isn't just about avoiding discomfort. It can become leadership negligence. By not addressing toxicity, you send a message to the rest of the team that this kind of behavior is acceptable. It starts to undermine your authority and, more importantly, the trust that your team has in you to protect the culture that they work in. Over time, you'll see high-performing, motivated team members start to feel discouraged, disengaged, or even start looking for other opportunities because they don't feel safe or supported. The longer you let toxicity go, the more likely it is that your good employees will be the ones to leave. Remember, it's not just about the one toxic person. It's about the rest of your team who deserve to work in an environment that fosters respect, trust, and growth. Now, let's talk about this concept of addition by subtraction. I know it feels hard to even think about letting someone go, especially if they've been around for a while or they have specific skills that are valuable. Sometimes the most toxic people can be the most productive people on your team, but sometimes removing a toxic influence is the best thing you can do for the entire team. When you let someone go who is consistently undermining the culture and the morale, you'll often see an immediate positive shift. The weight lifts, the air clears, and the team starts working together more harmoniously. There's less drama, there's fewer complaints, and people feel more empowered to do their jobs well. Here's why. Morale improves because when negative energy is gone, people feel more comfortable, more valued, and more motivated. They trust that leadership is committed to maintaining a positive work environment. Productivity increases. Without the constant distraction of toxic behavior, the team can focus on their work and collaborate more effectively. Creativity and innovation starts to flourish when people feel safe and respected and they're not walking on eggshells. Leadership respect grows because when you take the necessary action to remove someone who is damaging the culture, you reinforce your commitment to the well-being of the team. They know you are willing to make the hard calls when it matters most. I've been through this a couple of times, and let me tell you, letting people go is probably the hardest thing in leadership. It's terribly difficult because ultimately you are impacting a human being's life. So it's nothing to take lightly, and certainly we should do everything that we can to first coach people and try to help them be successful. But if they have no willingness to be influenced or to be a part of positive change, sometimes you are left with needing to free up their opportunities, if you will. So, how do you manage someone off your team? Now, like I said, managing someone off the team should never, ever, ever be taken lightly. It's important to go through the proper steps before making such a serious decision. And here's a general process to follow. First, you need to provide clear feedback and opportunities for improvement. Be specific about the toxic behaviors and offer clear, actionable steps for improvement. Give the person a chance to turn things around, but set a firm timeline for changes to happen. Number 2, and this is a big one, document everything. Make sure to document all the issues, the observations, and the conversations you've had regarding the behavior. This protects you and the organization if there is pushback later on. Number 3, Get human resources involved. Work closely with HR throughout the process to ensure that everything is handled legally and ethically. It can be such a relief because they can provide guidance on how to proceed, especially if the person has been with the company for a long time. And they're often an objective third party that helps you see the objective whole picture and helps affirm or even maybe suggest a different route to go if you're not on the right track. So HR is a really, really, really valuable resource to use. And finally, have the difficult conversation with compassion. When it is clear that change isn't happening and the behavior is still toxic, have that conversation, that final conversation with empathy, but with firmness. Let that team member know that their behavior is no longer acceptable and that you have to let them go for the good of the team. Remember, this decision isn't just about one individual. It's about protecting the rest of your team and maintaining a healthy, productive work environment. I can tell you from the couple of occasions I had in terminating employees that just were not positive team members. They weren't carrying their weight. They were toxic and negative. It was a horribly difficult experience for me as a leader, but the change in the atmosphere afterward was palpable. Like I said before, the air was just lighter. There was less of a sense of people walking around eggshells just wondering if they were going to do or say something that would set the person off. And they didn't even realize until it was gone the degree to which that negative presence was impacting their everyday work environment. When that presence was gone, they had an easier time walking through the door every day. So what can you take away from this conversation today? Number one, don't ignore toxic behavior. If someone's actions are consistently harming the culture and the morale of the team, it is your responsibility as a leader to step in and address it. Number two, prioritize the well-being of the whole team. It can be hard to let someone go, but remember that your loyalty is to the health and the success of the entire team, not just one person. Number three, be clear, compassionate, but firm. Set clear expectations for change, but if improvement doesn't happen, be willing to make the tough decision to manage them off the team. And number four, trust that removal can lead to growth. Addition by subtraction really does work. Removing toxicity can create space for the team to flourish, to collaborate, and to innovate. Leadership is difficult, my friends. That is why you need to keep your eyes focused on the Lord and call on Him to guide you through these challenges that you face as leaders. I hope that you find this episode helpful, even though it is a little bit of tough love, I'm afraid. And as always, I pray that the Lord fills you with gratitude, His peace, and His amazing grace. I pray this episode blessed you, spoke to you, or encouraged you in some way. If so, please share it with a friend and head on over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. That's the only way for me to know if you're enjoying the show. Nothing blesses me more than to hear from you. Also, come on over to our free Facebook community. This is a great place for us to support one another on our faith and leadership journeys. You can find the link to the group in the show notes or go to gracefilledleader.com/community. If you have questions or content ideas for the show, please send me a message on SpeakPipe or via email. Go to gracefilledleader.com/contact and leave a written or voice recorded message. I would love to know how I can best serve you on the podcast. Now to Him who can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3, verse 20. Until next time, my friends, God bless.